uninformed, and major news is biased. We've had enough of hot takes. We want informed takes. Join Kevin Briggins and Devin Smith as they have rational conversations about domestic politics, geopolitics, and military affairs. Things will get interesting as they bring in expert guests, even from across the aisle. Grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and hop into the chat. It's time for Informed Takes.
Yo, welcome everybody to Informed Takes. I am Kevin Briggins, he is Devin Smith, and we are happy that you all are with us once again. Man, how you been?
Man, I've been good, man. Been all over the place.
I know.
Had a crazy weekend, man. Did a live auction as an auctioneer for the first time. That was a good time, man. I was up there. Everybody thought I was going to get up there, and they thought I was going to be like, no, yeah, that's not how we just fundraising auctioneering. But it was cool. Nice. We raised over $100,000 for that nonprofit, and it was a good time.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
Yeah, man.
I want to be like you when I grow up.
No, man. One thing I was telling some friends about you this weekend, and I was just like, man, Kevin just always got ice running through his veins, man. He's so chill. He's got that military just calmness about him. But don't try to praise anything that Jamal Bryant does, because we were watching.
Oh, you saw that?
We were watching you and Mo
Off Code.
On Off Code, and she said she liked how he was staying on business, and Kevin was like, I ain't standing for it. I ain't having it.
Yeah. We don't disagree often, but I had to take a stand that time.
He wasn't having it. He wasn't letting Jamal Bryant have no W's, man. 0 W's.
No.
I feel
But like this. Neither was DWC. He called me during that premiere. Yeah. Well, first of all, he put in the chat, he was like, send me the link, because he wanted to come on.
Oh,
but he didn't realize it wasn't live. It was just a premiere. And so that's when he ended up calling me.
He was ready to go. I know DWC was ready to go. I know he was.
He was ready to go.
But man, I was like, oh, I've never seen this side of Kevin. I ain't trying to wake the bear up, man. I ain't trying to wake that dude up.
Yeah. I can say Pastor Kev had to come out that time.
Hey, it's all good, man. It's all good.
What you drinking on, man? I see that.
Bourbon and Coke, baby. It's a bourbon and Coke weekend, man.
Classic. Well, I went a little different today.
Man, what's that right there?
It is not special, trust me. Some cheap red wine that I just turned into a little sangria. So
hey, okay, all right. It's that's approved, man. That's approved. I don't know how many. That's actually probably not. You probably ain't losing any toes on that one. You probably not losing any toes on that.
Nah. I'm not. Nah, not too many. It ain't. I ain't throwing no sugar in here, so we good.
Man, if y'all are in the chat, y'all let us know where you're watching from. Hey, Natalie. Hey, Claire.
Yep.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's we've got a pretty hot show today, because this week has been crazy. Like we talk about the show like writes itself, but this week was just like, it was crazy. I was sending you stuff, you sending me stuff, and it was like we got to talk about this, man. The left is losing their minds. Like, it's insane. It is really insane.
Yeah, man. I'm sitting here. I mean, I don't know if you did that on purpose. You said the show was hot, but I was like, if you didn't do that on purpose, man, that was a providential joke right there. Yeah, man. They lighting stuff on fire. That's for sure.
Oh man, Clara said she's driving home from wine country. Man,
oh man,
Napa.
I know that wine's not cheap.
No, this is, and I'm not even a normal like a red wine type of guy, and I don't know how it got in my house, but it was on the counter. I was like, I'm using it.
There it goes. There it goes. I mean, I'm probably committing a cardinal sin by putting Coke in this bourbon because it's like special, like, like straight from the barrel bourbon. You're not supposed to put anything in that, but I was like, man, I just really want that bourbon and Coke. So it's America. I'm gonna do what I want.
You say that, but every drink has a top shelf option, right?
Right. Right.
No, everybody's drinking old fashions now.
Yep.
You can have an old fashioned that's cheap, that's mid range, or you can go top shelf. Like, so it's all right. It's all right.
Hey, I appreciate you. Kevin gave me a pass, y'all. He used to be in the military. Don't mess with him. Don't mess with him. Hey, we got some people 12 from New York.
Oh man,
welcome.
Yep. If some of my other military buddies were in the chat, they would be like, "Well, he was Air Force." I got some buddies that were Marines and Army, so they really don't count me being in the military.
No, yeah, I see the level of smack that is spoken to the Air Force. I mean, y'all in the hierarchy, y'all are considered maybe just above the Navy. The Navy is definitely considered like the lowest of the low. They catch the most smack, but they kind of act like y'all are even in the military.
They do. But at the same time, we are a top shelf. Like the Air Force, like the Army and Army will admit it. Like if they could do it over, they would go Air Force.
Wow.
Yeah. The quality of life is a lot different.
Yeah. I heard that. That's the smack that gets talked to y'all is that basically you got it easy.
I know.
Y'all living on easy street.
And I embrace it. They can have their tent and crawl it in the mud, and I'll have my Marriott hotel. racking up my Marriott points.
Man, you in the Marriott hotel and you just like, come find me. You won't be mad when you get here. I'll hand you a drink and we can chill.
Absolutely. You can go back to your tent.
We'll go look at the enemy from a UAV and
he says, where do the Coast Guard and Space Force rank? So, man, the Space Force is so new. Coast Guard is the one that's not military, right?
Right.
They're so not military, they don't even fall under DOD anymore. They're DHS. They're Department of Homeland Defense.
Wow. Okay.
Homeland Security. I'm sorry, DHS. But yeah, so Space Force will be right at the bottom. Like when you think of Space Force, you just think of like the nerdiest guys. You think of Star Trek. Their emblem they copied from Star Trek.
They totally did.
They embraced it. They just embraced their nerdiness and the jokes and Space Force is
that's the branch of the military for me, man. That's the branch of the military for Devin, man. The sci-fi nerd. It is. If there's any branch that I could be in, it would probably be the Space Force. I don't know that I would like that. I probably wouldn't get to shoot guns. As much as the other branches, but
you get to shoot lasers.
Hey, you can't beat shooting lasers, man. You can't beat that. You just can't.
Hey, and it makes total sense that the Space Force came out of the Air Force, right? It just makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. It does, man. Hey, you got out before going to the final frontier, man. I don't know. Maybe you should have stayed in a little bit. You could have graduated to the Space Force.
I'm good. Hey, Future. Hey, welcome.
Future.
Yep. Man, so we said it's been a crazy week. We got to jump into it because the left and the Dems and just in general have lost their minds. We've known that, but they've taken it to a new level. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how they survive. The leadership survives what's going on right now because we're going to show y'all some things, but as you're watching these things, just think about if it was Republicans doing these things, what the news cycle would be like, what the press conferences would be like. Just as y'all are watching these things, I just want y'all to think about that. Let's jump into it.
Yeah.
Okay, where shall we begin?
Angry because she was driving a Tesla.
I was thankfully by myself.
Lee was on the way to a doctor's appointment in Linwood Wednesday morning when she says all of a sudden a driver behind her just laid on the horn as they came up to a red light. Things spiraled out of control when a white SUV followed her and cut her off, stopping in the middle of the road.
Gets out and walks straight up to my window. So I cracked my window and I said, what is the problem? And he goes, you need to sell your car. This is a Nazi car. You're driving it. You need to sell your car.
Lee says she's been driving a Tesla for the last 2 years. She says the man wearing a camouflage jacket and a ski mask attacked her for it.
It's really sad, that this is what's happening to people who honestly, it doesn't affect how I believe or what I believe. Just the car I drive. Being in Seattle, climate's important, our footprint's important. This seemed like the right move for our very busy family.
This, however, isn't the first incident or act of vandalism reported. We've seen attack after attack after attack. Teslas set ablaze at the Las Vegas Service Center earlier this week, with the culprit leaving behind the word resist. In Oregon, shots were fired at a dealership, and in Massachusetts, charging stations were torched. These incidents have only intensified since CEO Elon Musk has taken a prominent role in the Trump administration while slashing government jobs and spending.
Felt so intentional, felt exactly what he was there to do.
There was even a website, now taken down, sharing the personal information of Tesla owners to pressure them to sell their vehicles.
If it was to align with what we thought, that it's easy to just, turn over a $60,000 car and find something new that works. That's not a decision that everybody can make overnight. And I think that puts a lot of us in a hard position.
Now, since May confronted, Lee says that she started taking the highways in order to feel more visible and avoid those back road stop signs. At the same time, though, she also tells me that she's made several reports regarding this incident. We're waiting to hear back if this individual is going to be facing any consequences. In Seattle, Alejandra Guzman.
Yeah. What in the world, bro? What in the world?
Man.
That's insane.
It is. And you know that guy's Antifa.
Oh, absolutely.
You know he is.
Absolutely. He's absolutely Antifa. Mm-mm.
I mean, when he got out of the car, I was like, oh, dude, you're straight Antifa. The camouflage, the mask. These people are nuts. They are completely nuts. To lay on your horn and harass somebody, and then to go around them, slam your brakes to make them stop and get out, and then tell them to sell their car because they're driving a Nazi car. You are an idiot, my friend. You are an idiot. And I'm just gonna be honest, man. Part of me, and this is where you have to bet. Part of me wants like, oh, you want to play? You want to be violent? Like, okay, I'll show you violence, right? That's the part of me that just wants to like challenge this, but at the same time, that's also the wrong move. It is to let them burn, crash and burn, let them make the mistake, because it's so ridiculous. It's so unhinged. It's just a car. It's just like, and also I think it was in Canada, there were like 80 more like cars vandalized. And so that report was just like what's in the US. It's happening in Canada as well. These people are nuts. They've lost their minds over Elon Musk and Doge. And what is it that they've done so much, right? What is it that Elon has done? They've cut off some government spending, right? They found a lot of fraud. They've uncovered a lot of, what would you call it? Let's just say suspicious ties to politicians through USAID funding, right? And you would think that everybody would be like, you know what, man, good job.
Yeah.
You would think that would just be the general sentiment. Instead, these idiots are out here with guns, Molotov cocktails, burning vehicles, shooting into vehicles, harassing people on the road, vandalizing, and talking about resist. Resist what, you idiot? Resist what? What are you resisting?
Yeah.
Right. And so I blame the media. They have drummed up this threat to democracy for years, ever since January 6th. They thought that was going to be their strategy to win. And they have created this caricature of an enemy, that everyone is supposed to be afraid of. Even Jasmine Crockett recently, and we're going to talk about old Jazz. But even she said this week, she was talking about the 2028 election, and she said, if we have another election, right? So they're still playing this card, right? And like Clara was saying, like, if you sell the car, someone else is still buying it. Like, that's not hurting. I mean, selling the car doesn't.
It don't hurt Elon.
Oh,
it doesn't hurt Elon at all. And the other thing is, they don't care. It doesn't have to make sense. They're not thinking straight. Like you said, they're nuts. So this whole, sell that car, it's a Nazi car. What they really want is what they've been doing. And we got video of that too. They just want it all to burn. They want them to burn.
Yeah. Yep.
And that is the real problem. The real problem here is that it is complete chaos on the Democratic Party side. And I'll say, I don't want to do the thing that is often done to the right, which is they take the worst elements of the right and say that's the right, right? That's what they do.
Yep.
But right now, here's the problem. When you have Maxine Waters, you got Maxine Waters up here talking her talk. When you have, I really probably should find this clip because Elon says he's going to sue. But you got Jamal Bowman up here saying that Elon is a Nazi. On CNN, and if I'm remembering correctly, this dude is either current sitting or previously sitting Democratic congressman saying that Elon is a Nazi.
I think he got defeated. He's out.
Yeah. He's the guy who, by the way, pulled the fire alarm in the Capitol building to try to stop something from happening in the legislature. So just to give you an idea. Now, think about that. Again, remember what I said, folks. Think about if the people doing these things were Republicans. Think about what the news cycle would be like. Think about the moral. I mean, the horse would be so high, they would have to wear a spacesuit because there would be no air. They would be out the atmosphere. They wouldn't even be able to breathe without a spacesuit, okay? That moral high horse would be unclimbable if it was a Republican doing this, okay?
Yeah.
But crickets, the problem I have is crickets from the Democratic Party on burning Teslas. No condemnation of burning Teslas. That's the problem.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure you didn't listen to my coffee conversations on Friday on Substack, but I talked about that. And it's funny you say that because we haven't talked about it. And I covered that in terms of the difference in media coverage when the political violence is on the left versus when it's on the right. And it's an actual strategy, a leftist strategy from a Marxist named Herbert Marcuse. He was one of the people from the Frankfurt School that came up with critical theory and all of that stuff. And so he had this thing called repressive tolerance, and it was where you tolerate violence and things on the left. You tolerate it. You downplay it. You don't talk about it. But when it's on the right, you magnify it, you blow it up, you condemn it, you make a big deal about it, right? That is an actual strategy of the left, the Marxist left. And our media, which is leftist, follow it, right? Because like you said, if this was some white supremacist group out there, some group on the far right, Republicans, whatever, MAGA, they would be losing their minds covering this nonstop. It would be, a crisis in America. It would be, you wouldn't hear the end of it. And yet it's barely a peep, right? Not only that, you got burning Teslas going on, and our recent VP nominee, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, which I will be tomorrow. Hope I don't get arrested when I land.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. I was like, being old tampon Tim's territory.
Oh man, he gonna be like, "Hey, I saw you on YouTube. Arrest that man. Arrest that man, that non-black acting man." I bet you I could kick his behind. What did he say? Tim Walz says like he bets he could kick any MAGA supporters. You know what?
Yeah.
And did you hear that?
Kane?
The dude, Kane, dude who played Kane in WWE, who's now I can't remember. Is he a mayor or something like that in
something
of
like
Knox? Or head of like I think he's like a mayor. He's in Knox County, and he was just like, okay, challenge accepted.
You should pull up a picture. You should pull up a picture of Kane.
Yeah.
But on top of that, he also, you got all this stuff going on with Tesla with the vandalism and the fires, and he's up there tweeting about how he's happy about the Tesla stock price. Like, they're not condemning this stuff; they're pouring fuel on the fire. And it's so childish, and it just doesn't make sense. That they are just kind of, and we saw this during 2020, right? In the BLM riots, we had cities on fire. And this is what I was talking about on Friday. You had the Summer of Love, right? You had 2020, all the all the George Floyd stuff going on, all the rioting, stuff burning. Minneapolis is on fire. Got burned out police stations. You had Chaz, which is in Seattle, which was where we just saw that gentleman, harass that lady for owning a Tesla in Seattle, right? You had Antifa take over blocks of a major U.S. city, cordon it off, have weapons and checkpoints, burned out the police station, didn't let emergency personnel in and out, and called it an autonomous zone, meaning it was no longer part of the United States. It was no longer under the jurisdiction. And you would have thought that would be like mass outrage and condemnation. No, it's like, not violence. Rioting is the voice of the unheard.
Voice of the unheard.
They just, Maxine Waters talking about, how we just got to, not let them rest, and you got to keep the pressure on. And Kamala Harris is tweeting out the link to bail out protesters. Like, and once again, if you get arrested, if you're a protester and you get arrested, that means you did some type of violent action. You weren't just protesting. And Kamala Harris is tweeting out the link to people to add money to the bail fund to bail these people out. They wanted the chaos. They wanted the violence. They promote the violence, right? And then the political right has one incident of political violence. And it was bad.
Oh, yeah.
Mainly because of the location.
Yeah.
But it's still just one act, because the political right typically does not act in that fashion.
That's right.
And it was January 6th.
That's right.
And they lost their mind.
That's right.
All of a sudden, democracy was at stake.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, white supremacy is the number one threat to America and all of this stuff, right? All of a sudden, I'm in the military getting a briefing on extremism, and it's all right wing, right? It's all conservative. And I'm like, hold up. I just went through a whole summer of this country being on fire and Antifa and left wing BLM folks acting a fool. And I never got a single briefing. No one said anything to me. There was no concern about, and especially, I'm a black man. Nobody came to me and was like, hey, just so you know, man, you can't go out there in the streets and be and tearing stuff up, just so you know. No, there was no like briefing to us like, hey, y'all can't participate in this type of activity. No, the political right did it one time, and all of a sudden the whole military has a stand down, and we getting briefed on extremism and every example in the briefing, and none of it is to the left. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
You got to be kidding me. After everything we've been through, and I can go back to Ferguson and all of that stuff. One time, and all of a sudden, now you care about it. Yeah, it's just, you can't take it seriously. You just can't, and you just see, I hope people are seeing it now. They are almost silent on this, right? There is no universal outrage. There's no condemnation. Democrat politicians aren't on the news talking people down, telling people this is not right, don't do this. No, they're not doing that. It is just that I think they're just kind of happy it's happening.
Yeah,
as Tim Wall said.
I think you're right, man. I think you're right. I think that they like that it's either they like that it's happening, or they're so afraid to take a moral stand against what their constituency is doing that they don't want to say anything. I remember what happened when J6 happened. You had Congress people that day, Republican Congress people and senators that very same day condemning what happened. The same day.
But everybody universally was like, this is stupid, y'all. That was dumb. Yeah. That was wrong. Like, that's not what we do. Like, don't do that. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody condemned it. What made people all of a sudden have to defend it, because nobody was defending it.
But it was
when the hypocrisy started.
Right.
And everybody started acting like, the media started acting like this was like some existential threat. I'm like, hold up. Y'all was just praising the rioting and burning on the other side. Like, it was the hypocrisy that made people go, wait a minute, hold up. And so it's not that you were defending. It's like, no, we were condemning all of it. You were praising one side of it, and now you want to condemn one side of it. Like, no, you got to keep that same energy.
Yes,
like,
yes. Come with
these
the
people
same
are rioting.
Energy.
They are rioting because their voices have not been heard. Keep that same energy.
Thank you.
Don't switch it up now.
Don't switch up now. Admit that you guys were silencing these people for 4 years. You were telling these people that they were Nazis, that they were, they were the threat. Yeah, they're a threat to democracy. I mean, the whole time Trump was in office, y'all acted like, the media was just taking all the vitriol and saying it's justified. It's justified because this is extreme. This is far right extremism. All this stuff, and the whole attitude towards anybody who would support Trump or MAGA was just, you're the problem in this country. You're a bigot. You hate minorities. You hate immigrants. All that stuff, and you can only do that for so long. You can only do that for so long before people, just lose it. Obviously, COVID, there was so much that happened just in the few months before the election with COVID. There was so much silencing and censorship.
Oh man, you're right.
And berating and just absolute. From the ivory tower, the media was telling you that, oh, don't do your own research. You're an anti-vaxxer. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. You can only do that so long before people start getting crazy. And again, even with all of that in mind, I want the record to show, both me and Kevin said, it was stupid. January 6th was stupid. But y'all acted like it was the worst thing. Y'all acted like it was the worst possible thing.
I didn't even vote for Trump, and I was like, y'all treating these people way different than you treat the last people that was rioting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that was the other thing. And that was so. That's how you got some. You had Republican lawmakers, who were saying, look, like, I know that was dumb, but this is bad. The J6 committee, the way that you're treating these people is insane. Nobody that was burning down whole cities got treated like this. Y'all were putting up money to bail them out. I mean,
and that's why I supported the pardons. Not because I felt like they didn't deserve to go to prison, because they did.
They did go to prison.
And they were in prison. But I was like, I don't know anybody from the Summer of Love that's in prison. So, like, if none of those people are in prison, I mean, they were burning stuff down.
Oh yeah,
like they
looting. I mean, robbing department stores and everything. And
I mean,
where's the
taking
outrage?
over police stations and burning police stations out and all of that stuff. That's what I'm. And I don't know anybody that went to prison for that.
Nope. I mean, you ain't seen their face on the news. I live in ATL. I live in ATL metro area. For everybody who's in ATL, like, no, you don't. I live 20 minutes outside the city. Okay, chill. But ATL was on fire. It was on fire. I have a close friend of mine. He's been on the show before. He was on call. I think he was on call, and he was out there every night for, I think, over 2 weeks straight, because he's in the Army Reserve National Guard. He had to be out there every night for almost 2 weeks straight. And then after that, he was still having to go out there. It was less. It wasn't every single night, but he was still having to go out there. He was getting called out there.
Yeah.
Because Atlanta was on fire.
And not just then, because you mentioned Atlanta. I forgot about. Remember the time the police shooting at the Wendy's?
Oh yeah.
Man, they were acting a fool. They set that Wendy's on fire.
Yeah, that Wendy's got lit up. I mean, I remember seeing the news reports, and I'm thinking to myself, yo, they come up my street. If they make it out here, it's gonna be something different for you out here.
And it wasn't just a case of the news. You got a news report that the Wendy's was on fire. No, it was live streamed on social media, and so of them busting the windows down, trying to get in. And then once they got in, like, we're sitting here watching real time these people vandalize this place and set it on fire, and nothing happened.
Where Maxine Waters at? Where Maxine Waters at? That's what I'm thinking. When this stuff has happened, I'm like, where is she at? Where's she at?
Yeah. But the point is that it's just this double standard. And I just hope people are seeing it, because we're gonna show some more clips and stuff. So let's go to the next clip so we can keep kind of showing this craziness.
Okay. All right. I do have something to show before that. Here it is.
Okay. I know what it is. Is this the intro? Oh.
Listen, do you want to see Tim Walz fight this guy? Give me a 1 in the chat if you want to see Tim Walz fight this guy. This is the dude who said, okay, Tim Walz, if you think that you can beat anybody who's MAGA, come with it. Challenge accepted. This is the guy who played Kane in WWE. I mean,
I was hoping you had a video of his intro of him walking out. That's what I thought you were gonna show.
Oh man, I don't know where I'd be able to. I could probably find that. I could probably find that. But, I mean, look at this guy.
Yeah, Kane is 7 feet 300 pounds.
I mean,
yeah.
I want to see Tim Walz fight him, man. I want to see Tim Walz fight him. You know what? It would be so one-sided. It would be brutal to watch. I don't really want to see Tim Walz get his face beaten in, but I do want to see him pee himself standing in front of this guy. But we do have something else to show. Yeah, man.
If you've seen the meme this week,
man, yeah, let's go.
This is pretty bad.
But then Trump comes in and tries to explain. All right, well, this is my stop. I hope you enjoy the hat. Oh, she took a tackle. She just
Womp womp.
Yes. So if you couldn't tell what was going on, this lady was on the subway and she was upset that this guy had on a MAGA hat. She just said she's tired of seeing it, and she called him a racist and all this type of stuff. And she was trying to make him take it off. And they got to a stop, and he got off, and she chased after him to try to get the hat off his head. And she face planted.
Yeah,
she face planted. And now a new meme has been created. I don't know if you've seen them this week.
Oh,
people are taking that still image. Yeah, they taking
man.
that still image, and they've been making all kind of memes.
Oh man,
but
I
it's just
find them.
she's too old to be acting that way. She's completely irrational.
Yeah,
because he's wearing a hat.
Yeah,
it's like yelling at somebody because they're driving a Tesla. Like, and so far we're in Seattle, and now we're in New York, right? Two coasts, same type of irrational behavior. Yep, JN, that happened in New York, man.
Oh man, I found it. I found it. Oh man, this is too good. This is too good. People. Oh man, this is too good. Okay, so Epstein clients and conservatives.
I
This
can
is
get
too good. Canada trying to catch Trump.
Yeah, this is the new meme, man.
This is so good. Oh, Kevin, you just made my whole night, man. That's too good, man. That's too good.
There's a lot out there, man. The internet has been being the internet.
Undefeated. Undefeated.
Yep, absolutely.
Man.
But yeah, it just didn't make any sense. Like, people are just have this irrational fear and this irrational anger over the president and what he's doing. And one of the reasons I'm gonna call it irrational, it was irrational the first 4 years, but he's been president already, right?
Right.
And democracy didn't end. Their lives did not go down the tank. Like, there was nothing major that happened that would stoke this type of irrational fear that he got elected again. Because he got elected again.
Right.
And not only did he get elected, he increased his percentages and how well he did against basically all minority groups, right?
That's right.
And so it just doesn't add up. I mean, I guess it does. If you watch The View every day, I understand why you act that way.
Yeah, if you watch Rachel Maddow, that's where this comes from. I mean,
it's just, and that's why I blame the media for feeding this, because it's so irrational. The media coverage, like I say, Jasmine Crockett saying, "Hey, if we have another election, like, what are you talking about?"
That was ridiculous, man. That was ridiculous. When she said that, when she started talking about if we have another election, I was sitting there thinking to myself, you guys wonder why people have taken real shots at Trump. People have tried to kill Trump.
Yes.
It's because they say stuff like that. And when they talk about, oh, he needs to dial down the rhetoric, he needs to dial back the rhetoric. I mean, so who did things that were unprecedented with an election? Oh, it was Democratic states who did that. It was Democratic states who did unprecedented things, changed rules at the last minute, allowed mail-in voting at a level that had probably never been seen before, to use a Trumpism. I mean, but because Trump got elected, we're never going to have another election. That kind of language, she knows what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, you're right. And that's what we're talking about, like the double standard. there are 2 assassination attempts, like close attempts. One bullet when we were this close from catastrophe.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying catastrophe because Trump is some savior or something.
No.
I couldn't imagine if that shot had been successful.
Oh man.
What it would have done to our country.
Oh my gosh.
The blowback from that, I don't even want to think about it. I think it would have been really, really bad.
It would have been real bad.
We were this close from disaster.
Yeah.
But you would think that would make them say, okay, y'all, all right, this is going too far.
Yeah.
We got to tone this down. This is no. They have not toned it down. They're getting worse now. And you would think, okay, he won the election. Let's move on and tone it down because he's won the election. But no, they're still, and I've said this, I'm old enough to remember the Democrat Party was known as the party of no ideas. And they were concerned that they would not win another election. And then Barack Obama came along and was this superstar.
Yeah.
And he carried them for 2 elections. And as soon as he was out, we ended up getting Trump. Right. And then Obama carried them a 3rd time because Biden's presidency is all about Obama. That's what they call it, Obama's 3rd term, because the reason Joe got it because he was Obama's VP. Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the only reason he didn't run in 2016 because it was Hillary's turn. Right.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. But they call Biden's, Obama's 3rd term. Because of that influence. But the party since 2016, since Obama, their whole strategy has been orange man bad, right? In 2016, that's what they ran on. And they pushed it for 4 years. And then they did it in 2020. Of course, then, Jan 6 happened and they was like, oh, we got it now. And so for the next 4 years while Biden was in office, it was orange man bad. It was try to get him off the ballot. It was try to put him in prison, get him labeled a felon, all of these tactics. And he still won, which is crazy. Oh, yeah. Assassination attempts.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, the dude got shot and he still won.
Yeah. Mug shot, like all of that stuff. And he still wins. And you would think they'd be like, okay, that didn't work too well. Let's move on. No, they're still doing orange man bad because you know what? They don't have any policies to run on. They have no platform that the American people really want, right? If they ran on their ideals, it would be even worse. Their numbers would be even worse than they are now. And I know we're going to get to those numbers. But they just don't have anything. They're just a party of opposition. That's all they can be is fearmonger over here. Vote for us to save democracy. Fearmonger over here. Vote for us to, save grandma or what. Like that's all it is. But they have no ideas or record of themselves to stand on to run on. And that's why they're scrambling right now and don't know what to do because if they go with what their real platform is to appease their base, they're just going to lose the rest of the country. And if they try to moderate and come to the middle, like Gavin Newsom's trying to do, they lose their base. Yeah, all of a sudden. They lose their base, right? So they're in this predicament. And so they can't run on policy. They have to just run on rhetoric and outrage. That's all they have. And at a time like this where the president is popular, what he's doing is popular, and you're trying to be the opposition, you're only making yourself less popular. And it's bad politics, to be honest. And I don't know where they go from here. Typically in a midterm, you see changeover. You see the opposite party kind of gain seats. I don't know if that's going to happen this time. And I know we're a long way from the 26 elections. I just can't. I don't see it because I don't know if they have the leadership. I don't know if they have the leadership and the strategy to kind of pivot that way to where it's going to gain them the seats they need, especially in these key swing states. Like, what are they going to run on? The only thing that can help them out is if we have some type of recession, the economy's bad, then, that can help them out. But they're just they're hoping for help because they just don't have a platform right now because they're doubling down on the progressive platform, and nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. So
that's right. No, that's exactly right. I mean, I think that, and like you said, we're going to look at the numbers later on in the show here, but you said basically they don't have anything to run on. They don't have any ideas. I would disagree with that only in the sense that they do have ideas, but it's exactly what you said. It's the ideas of their base, and their base is off. I mean, they are off the chain. They are unhinged.
Their base is that guy who got out that car and
right.
told the girl to stop. That's their base.
Their base is I mean, essentially the ideas that they were running on were the things that people said enough is enough. The ideas that they were running on were gender is fluid. That there's no such thing as a gender binary. Men should be able to play in women's sports. Those were the things that they were running on.
Open borders and mass immigration.
Right. That violent illegal immigrants should not be kicked out of the country. The crazy thing was that the Republicans in Washington were saying, "Hey, let's at least pass a bill to make sure that we quickly and expediently get rid of the violent illegal immigrants." Now, granted, personally, I don't think that needs a bill. I didn't read the bill, so, I'm going to be careful here.
You don't need a bill to do that.
You don't need a bill for that. So there's a little bit of me that thinks that might have been political theater on the right's part, but they knew exactly what the Democrats were going to do. That is that they voted no. The Democrats voted no overwhelmingly. I can't remember. There might have been 2 Democrats, if that, who voted in the affirmative of that, and that's what they were running on. They were running on, oh, nobody's illegal, no human is illegal.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like that nonsense. I am in Metro Atlanta area. And I see people standing on the street corners holding up nobody's illegal signs.
So I did an interview. We recorded it, but it premiered yesterday on with the Center for Biblical Unity on the show All the Things. And we interviewed a war correspondent named Chuck Holton. Now, Chuck, he's a war correspondent, but he also did a lot of border coverage, like at the border. He lives in the country of Panama. And Panama is like the key country where the immigrants have to come through the what's it called? The pass called? The Durian Pass.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we talked to him about it, and he made some points I didn't think about. He talked about how all of a sudden during the Trump administration, the first Trump administration, you had all of these sanctuary cities pop up. You had people kind of welcoming in and trying to hold on to these immigrants, right? And I didn't think about it. And he pointed out the fact that he said, what happened in 2020 that happens every 10 years? It was like the census. He was like, they don't just count American citizens. They count the number of people, right? And so these cities, in these blue cities and these blue states, were trying to hold on to all of these illegal immigrants and prevent Trump from deporting them. That's why they became sanctuary cities, right? And I didn't even think about that. And I think he said because of that, Democrats gained 3 congressional seats, because of that.
Oh, I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah,
that
because
is
of the
diabolical.
swell. Yeah, because of the swell of illegal immigrants in these sanctuary cities. They boosted their numbers. And I was like, I had never thought about that, but it makes sense. But then he's like, you notice after the census, after all that stuff was over, they're like, stop sending them to us. We don't want them. Like, all of a sudden there was a problem.
Oh my gosh, man. I never heard about that. That is really key. I mean, dude, you just dropped a bomb right there. That
dude,
is a
Chuck,
big
Chuck
deal.
Holton dropped the bomb. I gotta give credit to Chuck. Hey,
check out
Chuck's YouTube channel. It's called The Hot Zone with Chuck Holton. He's got great stuff. Foreign policy. He goes into war zones and reports on the ground. Dude's awesome. So
wow.
And yeah, and I hope to have him on here. So we exchange phone numbers, and so yeah. But that was just a point. I was like, I had not thought about that.
That is
yeah.
So that right there is one of the things that, of course, nothing's going to be said. Nothing's going to be said on a CNN. Nothing's going to be said. Definitely ain't going to be said on the MSNBC, NBC, CBS.
And
ABC.
if they did, nobody would hear it.
No. If they did, honestly, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember Sam Harris, the interview that he had with the guys from Trigonometry, Konstantin Kisin, and I can't remember the other guy's name.
Francis Foster.
Yeah, Francis Foster. Where Sam Harris basically said, he's like, hey, if we cheated in the 2020 election, it's what needed to be done.
Yeah.
He was basically like, if silencing the Hunter Biden story, if it needed to be done, we had to be. His Trump derangement syndrome is so strong. This dude was over here was saying, like, he's like, I don't care if Hunter Biden had kids in his basement. I don't care.
Yeah.
It needed to be done. I'm like, dude, this is, y'all have, listen to yourself. Listen to yourself.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Future, for posting that link. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I've never had love for Sam Harris. Sam Harris was he didn't know it, but he's one of my big enemies back in the early 2000s.
Was he one of the four horsemen? He was one of the four horsemen of the new atheist movement. Yeah.
He was. And he wrote this book that I still own because I bought it and I was like, because I wanted to read it. I'm like, what is my enemy saying? And it was called Letter to a Christian Nation. And he was basically trying to encourage, I guess you call them lukewarm Christians, to walk away. Like, just stop, man, just give it up. And he's basically saying that he was basically advocating for anyone who held to Christian beliefs to be viewed as low intelligent. They should be second-class citizens. We should not tolerate them. It was the new atheist movement was militant, and he was one of the four horsemen.
Absolutely.
And so, and a lot of people like Constantine talk about how Sam Harris was very influential in their youth and all this type of stuff. But now here he is, completely lost his mind with Trump derangement syndrome. You know, like, what happened to all that logic and reason you've been talking about? Right? It just goes out the window all of a sudden.
Nope. When you got to beat Trump, logic and reason go out the window, morals. I mean, obviously you talk to Sam Harris and he says, morality, what defines morality is what creates the most benefit for human flourishing. The most good for the most people.
For the most,
And
communist.
I mean, it's so communist. It's so communist. However, and that's not to say that we don't want the most good for the most people. That's not to say that we don't want that. The problem.
Define good.
Boom, there
we don't have time. We don't have time for that argument.
We ain't gonna go all the way down that rabbit hole. But it's just like, hey Sam, define good, and that.
Yeah.
Mic drop. He has no answer for that. He cannot account for it. We'll dig into that in another episode. But that is really the problem. We actually touched on some of that stuff when we had Joe Miller on. So y'all should go back and watch that episode. Where we talked about the importance of worldview. But that, when you look at the attitude of Sam Harris, the reason that we bring this up is that is the attitude of the left right now. The rules don't matter when what they're trying to achieve is at stake. The rules don't matter.
The end justify the means.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
In their minds.
This is a view of it. And remember, when Trump got shot, how many people on the left were on TikTok saying, dang, I missed it. I wish that bullet was 1 inch to the right. How many leftists were on TikTok saying that?
TikTok losing their mind
that we almost had him. They were saying we almost had him. Can you imagine if a Republican said that, bro? Can you imagine what would happen if a Republican said that? They would have been SWAT team, bro. They would have been SWAT team.
I ain't even do nothing. I would have been arrested.
If somebody tried to kill Joe Biden, if somebody tried to kill Kamala Harris, and the bullet was 1 inch off, and a Republican was out there talking about, I wish the bullet was 1 inch to the right. I mean, you talk about getting erased. You talk about being on every news channel.
Not just that. It wouldn't just be that person. That's why I said I would have been arrested. It would have been a major crackdown.
100%.
Right? They would have been going through social media, seeing who's ever said anything. They would have been kicking in doors, arresting people. It would have been a crackdown.
SWAT team, man. SWAT team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually something that we maybe if I can pull the stuff up, that's also something that's happening right now that I don't know if people have heard about, but people on the right are getting SWAT team now. So yeah.
So we're talking about the left losing their mind. So you guys know what it means to be swatted. It is when someone makes a 911 phone call to say something bad, violent is happening at your address. And so the police show up, not just in numbers, but they show up with bad intentions because they've gotten a call that some type of violent act is taking place. They're not just coming to knock on the door, do a wellness check. They're coming to kick in the door. And a lot of conservatives have been getting swatted over the last week or two. And it's like, the left does not care if someone gets shot or killed. They just don't. The level of political violence on the left, that's why the whole argument about white supremacy is the biggest threat to America. I'm like, the violence on the political left far outweighs the violence from the political right. It just does.
Yeah.
Do you got some right-wing militias that are out there in the middle of the woods and they're quote-unquote training and shooting their guns? Yeah. But you know what they don't do? Anything. They don't do nothing.
Amen. Like, who they shot at? Who they shoot at? Everybody wants to talk about a Republican with a gun in the Bible, but who did the Republicans shoot at? Nobody.
I mean, those dudes, they hang out there. They have their little meetings. They play Army or whatever it is, and that's it. They don't do anything.
They don't go to no congressional baseball game and try to shoot up lawmakers. Ooh. They don't try to shoot at the president. They don't try to do any of that stuff. Why right now? If we're looking at the rap sheet, the left's rap sheet is long right now. Or if we're talking about over the last 8 years, rap sheet's long.
Yeah,
it's got bullets on it.
Because in their mind, so when it comes to the political left, and I'm talking about far left, the progressive, the far left, not just people who are liberal. The far left's religion is politics. And when you approach something with the religious fervor to it, just like a jihadist, like you're willing to go to extreme measures for that faith, right? And the left's faith is in politics. It is in government. It is in their utopian belief of what they believe the nation should be through the power of government. That's why the left is way more authoritarian than the right. They don't believe in the founding principles of the government. They believe, stuff like there's no truth but power. They don't believe in like the original intent of the Constitution, right? They don't believe in any of that. It is simply there's no truth but power. How can they get power? And then they determine what is true, such as men can get pregnant, you know? And so that's what we're dealing with. And that's why they approach it with so much violence, because the end justifies the means. Because this is a religion to them. This is their faith. And they believe that they're doing a moral good. And not just they're doing a moral good, that they have a moral obligation to do this good. I go back to the anti-racist mindset, which is simply the leftist mindset. They believe the same stuff that, well, I would call it the activist mindset. There's no such thing as non-racist. You're either racist or you're anti-racist, right? Which means either you are actively opposing racism, right? Or you're complicit and you're racist. And so it drives you to be an activist because there is no neutral ground. There is no such thing as non-racist. And so if someone isn't actively doing something, that means they're racist because they're complicit in racism. They take that approach with all of this stuff, right? And so they can't just sit back and do nothing. They have to be activists. They have to be actively, quote unquote, resisting, as they painted on the Tesla, resisting. This is the resistance. They have to actively be fighting. Because to sit back and not do that is to be complicit in what they would say is fascism, right? And so that is why it is so dangerous, and that is why they're so violent, is because religiously they're driven to. They have to, you know, they can't just be. They have to actively be resisting. And when you have that type of ideology built in, it's very easy to see why they resort to violence. And so, yeah, this is the norm for the political left, and that's why you say the rap sheet is so long, because this is the norm. They constantly do this, and the media just simply ignores it, push it to the side, and like it's no big deal. And it happens all the time.
That's right. That's right. And you know, I'll say it's worse. It's worse at sometimes than others. Obviously, you know, if it looks like things are going the way of the right, then it's a lot more likely. It's a lot more likely that you're going to have more of these incidents, and that's the way it is right now. Trump won. It seems like the administration has a mandate from the electorate to do the things that they ran on. Their approval rating, well, again, we'll get to the numbers, but their approval rating shows that people are still in favor of the things that the administration is doing, that the administration ran on. And so the left right now is losing their minds. And I actually have I have a video here about the whole swatting thing that we can go to show that you know, these are the tactics that happen when it seems like people are not going in the way of the left. It is the same. Again, just want to remind y'all, we've talked about this in past episodes. These are Maoist cultural revolution tactics. Yes. These are the kinds of things that are employed to bully people into agreeing with you politically. But let's take a look at this video.
Okay, now to this, though. Are Republican lives being threatened? The FBI is now investigating a dangerous rise in swatting incidents on prominent conservative figures. But what exactly is swatting? Well, it's when someone makes a fake 911 call. They call 911, make a fake claim that something is taking place at a residence. Then law enforcement, armed law enforcement, is sent to that individual's address. It results in what amounts to a form of criminal harassment, putting those people's lives, and those officers for that matter, in jeopardy based upon a false call. My next guest is a conservative talk show host here in Texas, and he was swatted in the middle of the night after someone reported a false shooting and hostage situation at his home. It's Joe Pagliarulo. He's the host of the Joe Pag Show, and he joins me now. Joe, great to see you. Thanks for being with us to share this story. We could see I believe the Ring camera footage from your front door there as officers show up. Tell us what happened that night.
It's after 2 o'clock in the morning. Will, thanks for having me on, by the way. After 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm in my office. I'm doing some work. I guess what the bad guy doesn't know is I stay up till 5:30 a.m. Usually get up around 11:30 after that. So it's 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:25, 2:30, whatever it was, and my camera goes off. You have the app on the phone. My phone says there's somebody out there. I'm thinking it's a bug. Here in Texas, we've got plenty of bugs. I'm thinking maybe my wife had to take the dogs out, which would be abnormal, but I took a look at it, and there's that guy, holding clearly an AR-15. I've got an AR-15. That's what it looks like. He's a guy looking through my front door window, and he looks a little bit edgy. And I'm going, there's a guy out front. What do I do? And I calculated about 2 million things in about 5 seconds and called 911. Because now I've got to find out if it's the good guys, I've got to be very careful. If it's the bad guys, I got to go out, with my gun and try to protect my family. They were asleep. It turns out it was them. 911 confirmed that the county sheriff is there. We got a 911 call, hostage situation. Dogs have been shot. They're hiding from the bad guy. And the person on the line, I've now heard the scanner traffic since, said they were me. But, well, here's a caveat. They said they were me, but didn't say my full name. They said Joe Pags. They didn't say Pagliarulo. As a homeowner, I would use my full name. They also described the house the wrong way. And they were so urgent in getting the police to break down my door and possibly kill me in my doorway. They told them, I heard this on the scanner traffic, that he's bleeding out upstairs. Please hurry and get inside. Now, none of that was going on. That's the thing. Not one of those things was happening. My family was peacefully sleeping. I was working in my office. Nothing was going wrong at my house. But this guy, wherever he happened to be, was trying to get police to break down the door and possibly either kill me or scare us enough to where I would shut my mouth and not do what I do on the radio every day. It was one of those, I'm sure you've had this, where your heart flops out of your chest. I've never had it that hard before, but thankfully, the police were there. They understood the situation. They got that it was a swatting, and we're all safe.
Well, Joe, I've heard you tell this story. You had 2 more police officers in the backyard. There were 7 total surrounding your home. It's creating a really tense situation where how do you come to the door? You told them you would come out with your hands up. It's just waiting for someone to make a mistake, either you or the officers to make a mistake. And then whoever makes this call has accomplished their goal. And they could have accomplished their goal in just scaring you, Joe, right? Just to scare you from stopping to talk about whatever it is you talk about. And you're not the only person this has happened to. Several conservatives as well have been through this swatting. So what's the takeaway? By the way, is there any accountability for whoever made this call?
Well, I heard in the scanner traffic that it was a California phone number that was being used, but of course, through VoIP or VPNs, you can hide who you really are and spoof your number. I've got a meeting with the county sheriff detective and the FBI this week. We will get to the bottom of it the best way we can. But you're right. I think there were 3 more in the backyard. There were 4 total in the front. We could have been killed on the spot. And I think it's 2 or 3-fold, Will. I think that it's A, either get me dead, B, have me kill a cop as I'm doing it, C, have the cop be the one who kills me. Now, we're all bad guys. And then D, people like you shut up and stop talking about what you talk about. They didn't accomplish what they wanted to, but I hope there will be accountability. I texted Cash immediately. We're friends. He's been on the show a million times. And then he put out the statement the next day. I think they're taking it seriously, and I'm so glad it's this DOJ and this FBI, not the one we had a few months ago.
Right. Yeah, you're right. New FBI Director Kash Patel did post on this situation. We're glad you're safe, Joe. We hope we get some accountability on what happened here, and hope you keep pounding the table for what is right there in the San Antonio area and broadcasting across the nation as well. Joe Pags, thanks so much.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate you.
All right.
Hey. Yeah.
Man, I'm glad you thought of that, because I had forgot about the swatting incident. Dude. For those who weren't aware of what swatting was, do you now see how dangerous that is? Like, the police are on edge. They think, they called and said there was a hostage situation. People are hiding. You're thinking you got to get there and get in before those people are found and something happens to them. They claim somebody was already bleeding out. They're creating this crisis that the police have to respond to on high alert, adrenaline high. And if he doesn't get that Ring camera notification and they end up kicking that door in, you're going to end up with a Breonna Taylor situation, right? Where you don't know that it's the police coming in. He grabs his gun to defend his family, thinking it's some type of home invasion. And now you got a dead cop. He's probably going to get shot and killed by the police. Like, that is such a dangerous situation for someone to call in and try to set up.
It's evil.
That's what I mean, y'all.
It's evil.
That's what and it's the thing. I still struggle when we do these shows and the way we're doing them. I still struggle with the one-sidedness. No, I hate the trying to be in the middle. I hate the, both sides. I hate that. But at the same time, there's still something in me like I don't want to be that show. But I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. This is nuts. This is completely insane. Yeah, that's all I can say, man. They're forcing me to just be this way.
I agree with you, man. I've thought about that many times. My wife cautions me sometimes that, we can tend to be a little one-sided, and I realize, like, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Now, obviously y'all have seen me, okay? Y'all have seen me call out things that I disagree with the Trump administration, things that I'm not 100% with Trump on. And so that's how we try to make sure that we call balls and strikes. But when you have things like this going on, there's no comparison. There's no comparison on the right for that. And so what we just saw right there, that's one instance. I have seen multiple instances of conservative pundits being swatted. They're talking about this stuff on X. These are confirmed cases where they had SWAT called on them, where they've had dudes, fully decked out, ready to bust into their house, rifles aimed high. I mean, just if you think that this is okay, I really need you to take a step back and consider what you are resorting to try to get your political will. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and just spew anger at you. Because that would be the natural response. However, I want to try my best to try to get people to see this is not the way. This is not the way. And again, take a step back and consider how many comparable cases do you have of this on the right? Where are you seeing this happen? And the reality is, if you can name anything, it's few and far between. But we have so many cases that we can see, and that's really why. It is why I think that the country largely, I do think that what happened during COVID, the summer of love, all that stuff pushed a lot of Americans to voting for Trump. I don't think that all of a sudden a ton of Americans became Republicans necessarily. We'll see what happens in the midterms. We'll see what happens.
They kind of did. They kind of did.
I mean,
they didn't. As I talk about, the last article I wrote. Well, no, the one before the last one, about basically there's no cushy middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you were a centrist a year ago or 4 years ago, center right or center left, if you consider yourself a centrist, the Democrat Party has moved so far to the left to where you're now sitting, you're no longer centrist. You're a Republican. You're to the right. All right. And that's what a lot of people haven't come to grips with yet. They're still trying to pretend they sit in some type of middle. It's like your views are not in the middle. The window has moved. You are now right wing. Welcome to the club. All right.
We have coffee.
I was just trying to tell people, hey, welcome, make yourself at home. We got
because snacks.
We're all on the same side. Yeah, we're all on the same side. The Republican Party is now a big tent party. because the Democrats have gone so far to the left that no sane person can stay over there. Right. And so that's where we are, and even before these attempts, I don't know if you remember like a year or two ago, Tim Pool's show kept getting swatted.
Yep.
And it was getting swatted while he was live streaming. And he would be like, hey, guys, we got to go. We just got to call. The police are here. We're being swatted. And they got to end the show or leave it. You just staring at seats because they got to get up and go out because the police now have to search the house. They got to make sure everything's okay. And it's like, you're going to get somebody killed doing this. It got to the point where it is, but they did him so many times, the police kind of just knew at that point, like, okay, yeah, this is another attempt. And so it stopped happening because the police caught on to it, but it happened like 2 or 3 times, man, while he was doing this show. And so it's just the left, man, is the political violence on the left is just unmatched. It is unmatched because they're unhinged, completely unhinged, and just detached from reality.
Right.
I'm still going back to that video. I can't believe that guy acted that way because she was driving a Tesla.
Yeah.
And he called it a Nazi car. Like, he's losing his mind. He gets out and approaches her car because she's driving a Tesla. He knows nothing about her. It's
Speaking
Seattle. It's Seattle. I'm pretty sure the chances of somebody in Seattle driving a Tesla is not a right-wing conservative MAGA hat wearing person. Right. And he literally at the sight of someone driving a Tesla
lost his mind.
And that's what I'm talking about. They're unhinged. And this isn't just it isn't a one-off, as we're seeing. Right. It would be one thing if this was like, okay, guys, you're picking on the fringe, but it's not. It's not the fringe.
It's not.
It's mainstream politicians. It's everybody.
As a matter of fact, we have another example. Let's go from Seattle to New York City. We got another one.
Man, JN12, what's up with your people, man?
Dang. JN, man, we need to get them in check, man. But as DJ Khaled said, another one.
Volume.
Oh, it looks like somebody was just recording it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, this is a guy running alongside somebody's Cybertruck. So, the cameras on the Cybertruck are fantastic, clearly. But he is running alongside, flipping him off, banging on his truck. I mean, you talk about bold, man. What is he like? Maybe like 6 inches from having his feet ran over. I mean,
yeah. And then there's kids in the car. So the kids got this dude running alongside, giving them the finger, banging on the windows, yelling at them because they're driving a Cybertruck. Now, I'm not saying that's not warranted because I've seen the Cybertruck and I've wanted to do that because the thing is hideous. It is so ugly, right? It kind of deserves that level of treatment, but I would never do it, especially because, kids in the car. But these people are unhinged. He's running to do this, like to catch up. He just had to flip them off. Like, nothing about them. They're driving an electric vehicle. They might be the biggest environmentalist leftists on the planet. And you're flipping them off because you're associating the fact they drive a Tesla with them being MAGA supporters, Elon supporters. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. But these people here they are, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'll just keep watching it. Like, this dude that's unhinged. That is unhinged.
Completely unhinged. And notice that towards the end of the video here, he's doing this, and there's the cop car right there. There's the cop car. So I think this dude, I think maybe he did wind up getting arrested. I can't remember. But I mean, how unhinged do you have to be to do this? And then bam, I mean, you know, there's a police right there, and you just gonna do that right in front of the cops.
Hey,
Maybe he just.
Hey, I'm gonna start a new drinking game. Anytime we say unhinged, everybody take a sip. Take a shot.
Sip. Take a sip. Oh man. So, I mean, here's. Go ahead.
No, I'll just say we're gonna do Pee Wee's Playhouse. The word of the day is unhinged.
Unhinged. Man, that dude. Hey, respect. You brought up Pee Wee's Playhouse, man. Hey, some of the young people, they don't know nothing about that Pee Wee's Playhouse, man. They don't know nothing about that.
They don't. But man,
but where I am on this is, as Sun Tzu said, never interrupt your enemy while he's making a mistake.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hey, keep it up. Keep it up. Because this is the kind of stuff that pushed America to the right. I mean, really, like you said, I don't know how much people got pushed to the right versus the left kind of moving further to the left. I think it was kind of a combination of both. And I do think that because some of the videos that I'm seeing of people kind of talking about this stuff, some of the videos I'm seeing, people are saying, you know, I've been a Democrat all my life. I thought Republicans were this. I thought Republicans were that. But then the left started talking about, you know, man can become a woman, you know, all this stuff. You know, I mean, you literally have gay people making videos saying stuff like this. I mean, I've watched multiple videos of gay people saying stuff like this, where they're just like, I thought that Republicans hated my guts, and that you know, they all wanted me dead, whatever. And what I found was that, you know, I thought MAGA people were insane. I thought they were hateful. But what I found was when I started to say, like, you know, you guys are starting to try to, you know, you guys are kind of starting to make sense, those people welcomed me with open arms. They were nice to me. They, you know, they didn't they didn't do any of the stuff that I had come up thinking that they would do. But the left, the moment that I started saying anything like that, said that I was a Nazi, said that I was bigot, that I mean, they just, you are excommunicated.
The only thing I can say is Anna Kasparian. She's the perfect example. I mean,
boom.
She's clearly on the left. She's not a conservative.
No.
But she does have some common sense. And, you know, what woke her up was that, you know, she was assaulted on the street by two homeless guys. She talked about it on her show or on social media, one of the two. And people attacked her.
Yeah.
Because they said she was shining negative light on the homeless community.
Yeah.
Right. They didn't care anything about her being sexually assaulted.
Nope.
Right.
Not at all.
And that's when she realized something was wrong with her people, her side. That woke her up. But you're talking about someone, you can't get no more. The number one progressive show on YouTube is Young Turks.
Right.
And you lose them. Like that's how bad it's gotten, you know?
I'm just saying. I mean, is she still on Young Turks? I haven't checked in on them in a minute.
No, she's still there.
Yeah, because I mean, her and Cenk definitely have they have a divide.
He can't carry that show by himself.
No, he can't. No, he can't.
Yeah,
that dude lost credibility. That dude lost some credibility when stuff started going Trump's way. He just he kept getting crazier and crazier. And Anna Kasparian, like, she gets assaulted, she kind of wakes up a little bit. She's like, this transgender thing, maybe this ain't it. Maybe this whole
that's the other thing she got attacked on. She refused to use like the pronouns or use the term cisgender. She refused to buy into the ideology and the language, and she got attacked over that. You know?
Oh yeah. And when she winds up kind of waking up about this, and she starts to say, hey, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and I got assaulted already, so y'all can come for me. Come at me. Her attitude kind of was like, come at me, bro. I mean, really what I like about Anna Kasparian is that the same energy that she had when she was on the left, she was all the way, come at me, bro.
Yeah.
She kept that same energy.
As some others who I know who will tell you that their views have not changed. They would say, I haven't changed. Anna Kasparian would say, I haven't changed. But at the end of the day, Anna, I don't know if she's ready to say this. She could say, I'm an independent. You're going to vote Republican. You have no other choice, right?
Right.
I can say, yeah, you're independent because you don't. I appreciate people who are independent because you don't want to devote your loyalty to a party. But we're just going to talk about what are your principles and your ideals. You're going to vote Republican right now because at the end of the day, it comes down to common sense. You might believe universal health care is really important, but you're not going to vote for that over there just to get universal health care.
No,
it's just not going to happen. It's so crazy right now, you know? And so, so that's kind of where the left is.
Yeah.
You want to move on to the next kind of related topic, but still next topic.
Woo, man, that's ugly right there.
So this is basically just a continuation for what we've been saying. Now, we kind of prefaced it with showing all the videos and talking about everything that's going on, but it's not just us who's seeing this. The voters, man, 21% of voters viewed, what's that, Democrats in Congress, the lowest approval rating on record, 21%.
Lowest on record. I just want to make sure y'all heard what Kev said. The lowest on record.
Yeah, and so this is CNN reporting. I mean, so they only got 49%. I mean, they only have 40% approval even among Dems themselves. Now, you add, Republicans going to, of course, say they're, disapprove or they don't approve. But independents, right? That's what the problem is. It's with the independents. 21% approval rating? That is, man, that's bad. I don't know how I can't sugarcoat it. I can't 5 toes it.
No.
It's just bad.
Ain't no amount of toes that's gonna change that. Ain't no amount of toes. You can give up all your toes. That ain't gonna change that. That ain't gonna save them. That ain't gonna save them, man. Man, that is rough.
It is.
I think that this is a demonstration, though. It's a demonstration of the fact that there is a limit. There's a limit. People only willing to go so far. To be honest with you, I'm pleasantly surprised because for so long, I thought to myself, that these people don't have a limit. They'll just keep going. Folks who call themselves independents, folks who are in the middle, will just kind of keep placating it because they don't want to get canceled. And what happened is that, man, Claire over here, she laughing at him. Oh man, Claire's one of those folks who just came in the tent. Hey, welcome, Claire. Welcome to the tent. We got coffee.
Bagels.
Welcome. But I thought that there would never be that they would never wake up, but I think that is kind of what happened is that the left lost its moral authority. The left lost its moral authority, and I think that started to happen really it started to happen with the Summer of Love. I think that's when it started to happen because it was COVID. I should actually say COVID. It was the beginning of the end because people, even though they were complying, they were putting the mask on, They were Claire, we got to be careful. We don't want to out her. Okay, she said her family would disown her. Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah,
we're gonna take that
all
off.
Right.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, edit that out.
Okay, all right. No, I won't. But okay.
hey, Claire, don't worry. You're just being the same boat as us.
That's right. What you remember that meme? That meme with what's his face? He got the noose around his neck and he's looking at the other guy. And he's like, first time.
First time. Yeah.
But I think they started to lose their moral authority. Then people complied. They wore the mask, but they were thinking to themselves the whole time, something about this not right. This doesn't make sense. And I think that started to where Summer of Love happens, right? So you have these strict regulations on people, these strict restrictions on people during COVID. Summer of Love happens because of George Floyd, cars getting burned, all this stuff. And then
basically we can't gather, but if you go out to protest, that's fine. Right. Apparently COVID doesn't spread when you protest together, only if you try to gather, with your friends and family.
Yeah, COVID doesn't get you if you're black and you're protesting, or if you're protesting for black people. Nah. It doesn't, it don't spread to you. And you're right.
COVID believes
you are
in social justice.
Company.
COVID supports social justice.
COVID supports social justice.
Yes.
Oh man. COVID got,
was like,
COVID got
I
all
mess with them.
100 fists in the air. It's standing in solidarity. Well,
but you're right.
Goodness,
it was the blatant inconsistency, right? That people like people were tired of being locked down.
Yeah,
and these tough rules, but all of a sudden, if we go out and protest together, that's fine.
Yeah,
it just didn't make sense.
And then Gavin Newsom. Remember, Gavin Newsom.
I was about to go there.
Partying.
Yep.
Got leaked.
The mayor of Chicago, right? So they shut down all the salons and stuff, right? But yet she went and got her hair done.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. I thought we couldn't. Then she thought, I'm a public figure. I got to nah, but it's COVID.
Yep.
Now, you just told it, and so, it was the rules for thee, not for me.
Not
right?
for me.
It was the elitism that people started to say, wait a minute. I can't do this. I can't. And the rules were so ridiculous in blue states, right? They would talk about follow the science, but the science would say, hey, if you're outside, it's sunny, you need sunshine, vitamin D, outside, the chances of you getting COVID or spreading COVID is pretty low. People should do outside activities. And they was like, no, parks are closed. You can't go do any of this, It just didn't make sense. It was a test of authoritarianism to see how far they could go before people push back, and that's when the World Economic Forum became a thing. I mean, it was always a thing, but that's when it became really known, when the president, or whatever his name is, whatever his title is, of the World Economic Forum wrote that book called The Great Reset.
The Great Reset.
Talking about
that's right.
How COVID was this great opportunity to reset the world economy. And he stated there's one bastion that's in the way, and that's the United States. Because his whole point is we need to move past capitalism. Yeah. All right. The U.S. is in the way because when you look at COVID, who pushed back against the authoritarianism? Because that's what they was testing. They was trying to see how authoritarian can we be and people comply in the West. Right. Australia was ridiculous. I mean, I was ready to kick Australia out the group. I'm like, y'all are no longer a Western country. You're an authoritarian regime, right? The only place that pushed back was the U.S. And then even within the U.S., it was red states, right? Which tells you, I'm going to kind of go a sidebar a little bit. The reason people hate the West, the reason the left hates us, the reason the left tries to import immigrants the way they do, is because of that spirit I just talked about. The spirit of rebellion, the American spirit, right? That believes in freedom and liberty. That spirit must be drowned out because that spirit is in the way of the leftist revolution, right? And so Europe as a whole is basically just who submit to their government no matter what and have speech laws where they go knock on their door and arrest people because something they said online that wasn't nice. Only in America will we say guns, try it, right? Only in America will we say, nah, we ain't gonna be too much having it around these parts, right? You know, there's a certain spirit of rebellion that we will push back against authority. They hate that. They hate it. And, you know, Obama talked about it, you know, clinging to their Bibles and their guns. They hate that culture because that culture pushes back against their agenda, right? That culture is what voted Donald Trump in, right? That culture is what stands between globalism and global authoritarianism and liberty and freedom. And like I say, what's his name? That dude's he's a straight villain. He has a villain name and he looks like a villain. I can't even think of his name. Charles. I won't say Schwab, but it's not Charles Schwab. It's something like that though. Yeah, the U.S. is the last place in the way because the U.S. is the last place that still has that type of mentality, right? And we got guns. So, yeah, that's just kind of my little rant for people to understand what is that they hate. When they talk about whiteness, when they talk about white supremacy, they're just talking about American culture. And when they talk about American, that is one of the aspects they're talking about, right? They want to turn people away from that. They want people to pretty much hate the ideals in which we were founded on, right? Because if you hate them, if they tell you that they're inherently racist, right? And to be a good moral person, you must, you know, not be associated with that. Then yeah, you can root that out until we say, nah, kick rocks, and I'm homeschooling my kids, right?
Boom. Boom. That's exactly right.
It. Klaus
Schwab. It's actually Klaus Schwab.
Yeah.
It's Klaus Schwab. That is a Bond villain name. That is, if there was ever a Bond villain name, that's it.
And then he's got like the German accent. And then he wears that one villain outfit with the shoulder pads in it. And it's like, dude, like, you can't be real. Yes. Like he looks like an Austin Powers villain. Yes. Oh my goodness.
I mean,
oh my goodness. I thought it was fake when I first heard about him and I heard about the Great Reset. I'll be honest, and I apologize to everybody out there. I thought it was a conspiracy theory. I did. And I was like, I'm not buying into these conspiracies. I'm not going down the right-wing conspiracy theory train. And then I found out, oh, no, this is real. Like, they're saying it out loud. It was so crazy that it wasn't a conspiracy theory. I'm like, who? It's like the villain when he has the good guy tied up. He has Batman tied up, but he goes and starts telling his evil plan. That's what they were doing. Yeah. I'm like, they're telling us the evil plan, like this montage. Like
that's like in the Incredibles. In the Incredibles, when you catch the villain monologuing.
Yes, I just couldn't believe they were saying it. I'm like, are we tied up? Like, are we in a predicament where they're like, we're winning? Here's the plan. And
they're over here talking about. They thought they were winning so much. Dude was over here was like, They will own nothing, as they will be happy.
Be happy. Yes, I thought that was a lie until I went to their Twitter and saw the actual video of them advertising this idea that we will own nothing and we will be happy. I'm like, nah, we got guns.
Yeah,
That's all I got to say.
That's exactly where I was. I was like, hey, man, y'all can try that over there. You come over here with that. You come over here with that. We got something for you. We got something for you over here.
All I say is we threw the tea in the ocean one time. We will do it again.
I mean, I tell people all the time, there's some things that I look at and I'm just like, they got the muskets out for that back in the day. The muskets came out. You want to see the muskets come back out? Try that stuff over here. The muskets will come back out.
Yeah. And so it's just one of those things, man. It's just the United States is a rare place. The spirit of America that I'm just going to be honest, it exists on the right. The left has been indoctrinated to hate its own country and its own civilization.
Yes.
And that's just what it is. And so, man, I want to go so many places with this. So I listened to Trigonometry today, and Constantine did an episode with his father. Now, his father's Russian. He worked for the Soviet Union. Like, he was in the ministry of whatever, right? He worked for the government.
Wow.
Yeah. He has a very unique perspective on the Ukraine-Russia thing. And I say it's unique, but I believe it's also how Putin views things, right? Because I've talked about it before, how Putin, like, it wasn't that NATO was a threat to Russia militarily. I said it was a threat to Russian influence, right? And Putin believes that there are these certain powers in the world who within their sphere of the world should be able to rule as they see fit. And he believes Russia is one of them. And Constantine's dad basically made the same argument. So he called them civilizations. He views the world through civilizations, not countries. They don't care about countries. They don't care about borders. They view it as civilizations. So the Russian civilization extends beyond Russia's borders, right? And I wanted to do a whole episode on this because I was so fascinated by it, right? So the 6 civilizations in the world today are Russia, which is the East. You got the West, which is the U.S. and Western Europe, China, India, Persia, so Iran, and then Arab, right? So the rest of the Middle East. Those are the 6 key civilizations today, right? And in their side of the world, they believe that they should be able to do what they want until they bump up against each other and they clash. So it's not about you. So as the West, we view Ukraine's sovereignty as that's a nation. They're a sovereign nation. If they want to join NATO, they should be able to join NATO. They don't view it that way. They view it as a clash between Russian Eastern civilization and Western civilization. And the fact that Ukraine wanted to go from being a part of the Eastern civilization to Western civilization is a no-no, because they're talking about civilizations. They're not talking about countries. They don't care about countries. And so I say all that to say the idea of civilizations is a way in which we in the West need to think way more about, because I get the feeling that other people in the world, I know China does, I know Russia does, they view these things not as countries and borders, but as civilizations. They still see themselves as kingdoms, not just a nation state. And so when I talk about, it's not just that the left has been taught to hate America, they've been taught to hate Western civilization in general, right?
Say that again, bro. You're going to say that again.
Yeah. And Constantine's dad made this point. He was like, there's this clash in these civilizations. He said, when you push liberalism and democracy to us, talking about Russia, that is Western civilization trying to come into the East. He says, when we push socialism and Marxism to you, that is Eastern civilization pushing into the West. That's their influence, right? So when you see all these leftists out there, they're just influenced. There's influence through Eastern propaganda, right? Civilization. That's their civilization trying to influence ours and ultimately overtake ours. That's the whole goal, right? When in the 90s, when the Soviet Union fell, and we thought that, hey, this is our time to make Russia like us, to make them like the West. That's why men like Putin stepped up, because it's like, no, that's Western civilization. We are East. We are Eastern civilization. We're from the Byzantine Empire. They're Rome, right? They still view it that way. I'm like, it's crazy. I know we detoured from what we were talking about, but I was so fascinated by this conversation because I'm like, in the U.S., we are so hung up on nation states that we're missing the whole bigger picture in terms of viewing it from a civilization standpoint, right? And I got to that just because, like I said, the left has been taught to hate Western civilization. And I thought about it doing that podcast because, you know, we talk about like Yuri Bezmenov, the Russian spy who talked about how Russia wanted to influence the West, right? You know, we talk about how they tried to use the black struggle from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s to infiltrate it with communism to affect the U.S. Like all of this Marxist stuff we're dealing with is all an intentional play from the East to infiltrate the West, right? To hate our own civilization, to hate our own values, to hate true democracy, liberalism, freedom. And the left are the evidence and the ones who have drunk the Kool-Aid to hate themselves, right? And I was like, because now this is not this is taking warfare to a whole nother level, right? This is civilization warfare, and that is how they view it, not as Russia versus the U.S. They don't care about borders. They don't care about states. They care about civilizations, and they see this as a clash of civilizations. And I was like, been looking at it all wrong. We've been looking at it all wrong, right? And I know that was a detour, but that whole civilization part just kind of hit me and came to me. And yeah, we need to switch up how we looking at it, and also understanding what is the people on the left have adopted, right?
Right.
To help us understand where it is they're coming from and where they are. Yeah, it's because they've adopted a lot of the propaganda and push that has come from Moscow to make them hate themselves.
Yes,
right.
That's right.
So,
and it's very well documented that they've had a concerted effort ever since the 60s and perhaps even the 50s to try to change the Western mind. And they got a hold, they kind of got a foothold into higher education, into academia. And you see that. It is, I mean, you get up into the upper echelons of academia, and it is overwhelmingly Marxist. And so they've been largely successful there, but that is not an accident. It's not just people changing their mind. They targeted academia. They were specifically trying to make sure that if you went through the four-year university in America, that you were going to be indoctrinated with a more Eastern and dare I say socialist mindset, a Marxist mindset.
Have we talked about cultural Marxism on this show? I don't know if we have or not.
We haven't, and we should, because I think people need to understand what they're looking at in society, because it is, you will look at everything very differently. Once you understand what that is, you see its traces in all of the discourse publicly about where we should go as a nation. You see its influence. I think it would be a great episode.
Yeah. I'll just say that the reason I say that is just to say that we're no longer dealing with left versus right in the traditional sense. This isn't just liberals versus conservatives. This is something much more. This is I'm just gonna put it in these terms. It is whiteness versus blackness. And they use those terms, and those are just code words.
That's
whiteness is Western civilization, Western culture. Blackness is code for Marxism.
100%.
Right? 100%. When people talk about blackness, and you look at what blackness is, and the reason they say like Devin and I aren't black, because to be black is a certain political ideology. Yes. And it is always Marxist. And it is to be a part of the struggle. It is to fight the struggle, right? It is to fight against oppression and seeing the lens through a Marxist lens, seeing the world through a Marxist lens. And if you don't do that, then you ain't black. And so when they talk about blackness, that's just they can't just come out and say we hate Western civilization. They have to tie it to white supremacy. They have to tie it to a negative term. And then they talk about blackness because just like Black Lives Matter, there's a certain untouchableness to the term black that if anyone opposes it, you're labeled racist or something, you know? And so they do a very good job playing the word game. But when you just look at what it is they're pushing, what it is they're really saying, whiteness means Western civilization, just Western culture, and blackness is code for Marxism. And so
that's right.
You're welcome.
That's what I mean. That's well said. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. You know, I was listening. You know, again, I'm a fan of Off Code. That's how I found you in the first place. That's how I even knew who you were.
I said I feel like if you saw Off Code, you've heard my rant already.
No, but yeah, I mean, for those who haven't seen Off Code, you should go check out Off Code on YouTube. Mo and Kevin do a great job of talking about a lot of these things. One of the things, you know, Kevin basically said on the show that to be black with a capital B is to be Marxist. That is, if you want to understand this, and I know that there are a lot of people who are going to be mad at us saying this, but I want you to really consider what we're saying. For you to be accepted in, quote unquote, the culture, for you to be accepted in the culture, you have to adopt Marxist principles. Yep. Point blank. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, and most people have no idea. They just think that's what it means to be black. That's what blackness is. They don't have no idea the underlying ideology that they're really holding to. Right.
And if y'all think we're wrong, let us know in the comments. Jump in the comments. We happy to discuss in the comments, but that is the only conclusion I can come to after all this time.
Yeah.
Now we got a couple more things to get to before we
push.
get out of here.
Let's push.
So you know, we've talked about the fact that the left is kind of on fire right now, not in a good way. They setting Teslas on fire. The other way that the left is on fire is they just don't really have any leadership. And, you know, you got a couple of new faces I say new faces, but a couple of faces who seem to be the new face of the Democratic Party. Let's take a look. Boom! There they are. That's who seems to be winning the public eye of who is representing the Democratic Party, and that is not a good sign for the Democratic Party. AOC, and if you don't know who that is on the right, that is Jasmine Crockett. She's been all over the place. She's been getting on all the news channels. They've been bringing her on and letting her voice her opinion. And if these are the faces, if these are the new faces of the Democratic Party is in big trouble.
Big trouble. So Jasmine Crockett's a congresswoman out of Dallas, Texas. She says some of the most inflammatory things. That's the word I use. If you ever follow her on Twitter, the level of profanity she uses, right, is like, oh my goodness, you are a congresswoman, right? And talking about we don't give a F and all of this type of stuff. I'm like, oh my goodness, right? But she has been the television face of the Democratic Party. The reason AOC is on here because there was a recent poll that said which Democrat represents the ideals, mostly represents the ideals of the party. And the leading vote getter was AOC. She represents the ideals of the party. So what does that mean? It means that the party basically is Democrat, socialist, progressive.
That's it.
Right? That's it. That is the values of the party. And that's why they can't run on them, because most people in this country aren't Democrat, socialists, or far left progressives. But that's what the party has turned into. And they saying AOC most represents the ideals of the party. So when you look at, okay, who's the face of the party, it's AOC. And then the person that they're putting around in every news organization is Jasmine Crockett. Like, I don't know how that bodes in 4 years. I just really don't, because
I don't think it does. I don't think it bodes well.
No. I mean, nobody said Shapiro. I can say nobody, but the leading vote getters. Like, you think about, Kamala, Gretchen Whitmer, like the names you would think, okay, what's going to be the top of the ticket in 4 years? And it just wasn't there. And the second leading vote getter behind AOC was Bernie Sanders.
Yep. That's right. That's right. I mean, again, Democratic socialists. I mean, that right there shows you that the Democrat Party has essentially, they are socialist. That is what they have essentially become, and that it's shown by who they're saying are their top people. Who they, I can't remember. So my wife and I were talking while we were on the road today on the way back home, and she was reading off to me who were, like the top 5 people. And she said, number 1, somebody did a poll to see, who they think should be at the top of the Democratic ticket in 28. And Democrats are saying Kamala Harris should be number 1. They're saying that number 2, I'm trying to remember who they said number 2 would be. I think it was Bernie. It was Bernie. No. Number 2 was Pete Buttigieg.
Oh my
which is
goodness.
Nuts. Pete Buttigieg.
No.
Yep. And
oh my goodness.
Then you have, I can't remember who was in third. It might have been old Tim. No, I don't think it was Timmy.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know who's gonna run in 4 years, who's gonna be at the top of the ticket, but I don't think we really know that person right now.
No, I think it's
got to be something like Obama, like
come out of nowhere.
Just got to come out of nowhere and like, oh man, who is this person? And they just become a star.
Yeah, but
I don't think any of the people we're listing right now are capable.
No, they're not.
I mean, they could be capable of if they're their own competition, like the names we've named. Yeah, okay, somebody's got to come out of that. They have no shot at winning a general election.
No shot whatsoever. No shot whatsoever.
But I will say this though, with the AOC Bernie Sanders thing, it's right in line with what I've been hearing from people on the left. After the election, it wasn't, hey, we need to come to the middle. We need to tone down the rhetoric. We need to let go of the trans stuff, y'all. That's kind of crazy. And let's come back. Like, that was not. The argument, they said they lost because they didn't go far enough to the left.
Man.
Right? That's their argument. They believe they did not push for socialist policies, universal health care. Like, they want to go all in progressive because they believe that is what the country will resonate with. They're nuts because that's what they believe in that's what they believe. That's what they like. And their circles and their echo chambers to the country aren't Democrat socialist. Like, the country just doesn't view that as we would rather have someone run on less taxes rather than more taxes, and then the whole thing about, oh, we're gonna tax the rich, like that's been so played out for decades now. Like it's hard to sell people on that now because nobody believes that we can just tax the billionaires and all of a sudden that's gonna fund health care for everybody in the country. Like nobody believes that. And so, but like I say, this poll is right in line with what the Democrats have been saying, is that they doubling down on they lost because they didn't go far enough to the left. Kamala was too moderate.
Right, which is insane to me. It's insane to me because she was the most progressive member of the Senate. She was the most progressive member of the Senate. If there was a progressive policy, she was going to vote for it. That her voting record is the most progressive in the Senate. So to say that she's too moderate is just that shows you where they are.
Well, her voting record is, but her campaign wasn't, right?
Right.
They're saying
she knew what
in
she
her
had
campaign. To do. Yeah, I mean, these people, they poll, they understand what the country is thinking and wanting, right? They know if they go all in progressive, they're gonna lose in a landslide. Like, right. But the people who are hardcore bought into it, they have this religious belief that if the country just they're believing our principles, we just stand on them. Like, no, nobody's buying that, man. Nobody's trying to be California. No offense. No offense out there, my California friends. I know but nobody's trying to
move out. They're trying to move out of California. They ran out of U-Hauls when the big push happened coming out of COVID and during COVID. They ran out of U-Hauls. I mean, just to make this even worse, okay? To make this even worse, I can't remember who number 3 was, but number 4 was Tim Walz at 3%. 3%, dude. Okay, he got 3% of the of the vote of who should be on the 2028 ticket at the top of the 28 ticket, and you will never guess who number 5 was at 2%. Take one guess.
Oh man! All right, I get one guess. It's got to be somebody crazy. They got 2% of the. Was it Jasmine Crockett?
No, I thought I was going to hear. I thought that I was going to hear Jasmine Crockett. Maybe she was 3rd. Maybe that's the one that I didn't hear. However, we were floored on this. Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that list. I never saw it, but I heard Stephen A. was on a list.
Stephen A. Smith. They saying that they should run that dude for president.
No.
Hey, I've been liking Stephen A. For a minute.
He would not be their worst choice. He's not progressive enough.
Yeah.
He's just not.
Not for them.
He's a classic. Stephen A. Smith is conservative and don't know it.
That's right.
He tries to play this centrist role, right? Play like this. I'm gonna explain Stephen A.'s political philosophy. Stephen A. is a conservative who knows that if he doesn't hold to his race narrative, he'll lose his black card. Boom. So he's a conservative who tries to hold on to his black card. Boom. And so he's going to pull the race card and the race narrative on things where it has no play because he knows he has to do that to keep his black card. And he's afraid to just be a conservative because he doesn't want to be uninvited from the cookout. That's Stephen A. Smith's politics.
Listen. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. You've said it before, Kev. Stephen A., if you're watching this, I know that we ain't nobody, okay? But Stephen A., if you happen to wind up watching this, just come on over. Just come on over, man. Just come on over. They cook out. They still cooking their steaks well done, man. We got a medium rare over here. Listen, okay, just come on over. Just stop pretending, man.
Hey, Steve, this is what Stephen A. need to realize. Hey, man, we brought the seasoning over here too.
We did,
right?
We did. I season my food.
Yeah. And we took the raisins out the potato salad when we got it. Just come on over, man.
Ain't no raisins and potato salad allowed at my house. Not a thing. You can come on over here, man. You're gonna be all right over here, man. Just go ahead and do it. Just to go ahead and admit it, man. Just go ahead and admit it.
And it's funny. It's like Stephen A. Smith is good friends with Mark Levine and Sean Hannity, and yet he still tries to play that like I'm an independent, I'm a centrist, and and the race card and the brothers and like Stephen A. Stop, man. Just stop. Nah. You one of us.
Yeah.
Just
the jig's up. The jig's up, man. Yeah. The black card. Yeah. The black card. I just want to go ahead and let you know, man. I don't know if you've gone into the safe to look at it for a minute, but Joe Biden had the Thanos glove on, and he's still alive. Before he died, and that black card was.
I mean, but you see what's happened. You see what's happened with him with the LeBron stuff, right? And the other NBA players aren't talking to him and stuff. It's like, man, stop trying to be in that crowd.
Yeah.
Give it up.
Yeah.
Just give it up, man. You made your money. You just signed a new deal. You making, I think, like $25 million a year. You made it.
You
just let it go, man.
Yeah.
Just come on up. Come on.
That's right. That's right, man. That's right.
Just Stephen A. Smith, the face of the Democrat Party. I got it.
Ain't no way. Ain't no way. I mean, now you know what? I don't. Let's be real. Stephen A. If we're thinking about whether Stephen A. could actually function well as president, I don't think he's going to be very good on. He's not going to be good on foreign policy. He's not.
He doesn't know anything.
Completely.
To his credit, to Stephen A.'s credit, because he was on. Was it Sean Hannity? Yeah, he was on Sean Hannity's show.
Yeah,
and he was like, he was talking. He said, "I have no business being on this list." Right? He admitted he's like, "I am not qualified." Right? Yeah. I couldn't even imagine Stephen A. on foreign policy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I was listening. I hear his New York accent in my mind right now. Stephen A. going on a rant. I was just imagining him going on a rant about Israel and Palestine. I mean, okay. But I think that
yes. You laughing at Future, right?
Oh man, okay. They have well done steaks and mushy mustardy potato salad. Kevin and Dev have medium rare steaks and Lowry's in the backyard. That is right, and it's a raisin-free zone. That is right. Ain't no raisins when we fire up the smoker. When the potato salad come up, it's no raisins in that thing. We got the Lowry's on. We got the butt rub on the pulled pork. Listen, our cookout tastes good, okay? Our cookout tastes good.
Yeah, right. And Natalie, so Stephen A. Smith, he's an ESPN personality. I know you saw in the text, but he also has his own show on YouTube, and he talks a lot of politics. And so that's why his name has been coming up in these political conversations, because he's talking about it on his personal show on YouTube. And he's calling out the Democrat Party a lot. He's doing a lot like Anna Kasparian, where he tries to like not say he's a conservative and all this kind of stuff, but and he claims he has conservative views. He has some views on the left. He don't. He has conservative views. The only views he has on the left is the race narrative stuff. That's it, right? But outside of that, he is not. He has no left-leaning views.
Now it's a long running joke. Supposedly white people put raisins in potato salad.
Natalie,
I haven't been to any white person's house that has raisins and potato salad.
No, I got to say something. This is we believe in stereotypes on this show, and we talk a lot of stereotypes. Right, and one of the stereotypes is that white people put raisins in their potato salad. just like it's a stereotype that me and Devin can't swim.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm fulfilled the stereotype. I can't swim, bro.
I know.
I can't swim, bro. I can't.
Hey, me either.
Hey, listen.
Hey, no.
Oh man, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm setting us back. I can't swim. I got a pool in my neighborhood, man. I still can't swim. I lived on an island for 3 years and I still can't swim, man. It's terrible. It's terrible.
That's why I thought you could, because I knew that. I was like, oh, but because Devin was like, no, I can swim.
They tried to teach me on the swim. They tried to teach me how to swim on the island. Okay, so the black people on the island know how to swim. Okay, they know how to swim. They try to teach me, and I don't know what it is. Maybe just American black people we just sink. I'm half Trinidadian. I'm half Trinidadian, and the half Trinidadian side, I need that to be a little bit stronger.
It's so disappointed.
Yeah, they were disappointed, man. They were disappointed. I didn't even like being in the pool back then. I was a disappointment. But I mean, look. I changed the batteries in my smoke detectors. Okay, I changed the batteries in the smoke detectors. I'm pushing us forward on the smoke detectors. Okay, I'm pushing us forward. So much so that I just paid hundreds of dollars to replace my carbon monoxide detectors because I have to have ones that are compatible with my security system. I had to pay a lot of money. And I paid the money. Now, I'm not going to front. When them things went out and I couldn't afford it, I unplugged them. I took them out. I
so you had that beat.
Now,
I have a fairly new build home. We built our house 2021. So I'm not sure if we've just got like our lights in our house are like last for 10 years kind of. We don't change light bulbs. I think our smoke detectors are the same way. Like they're just in there. Like there's no going in there and changing the battery out. They don't beep. They're just good. So
man,
yeah. So, but if that was not the case, they'd be beeping. You would have heard one just then.
Kev, I got to ask a question, man. Do you have a Hellcat in your garage, man? Do you have a Hellcat? Please tell me you don't have a Hellcat, man. You better
no,
not
I'm a little too old. I'm a little too old.
Okay, all right, okay.
If I was younger, yeah.
You ain't a YN. You ain't a YN. You ain't got no Hellcat in the garage.
Nah.
Okay, good. Because oh man, all the stereotypes would be fulfilled, man. All of them.
No, I'm white. I drive a Volvo.
Oh man, that's super white. You drive a Volvo.
It is.
That's super white, man.
Hey, it's so responsible of me.
Responsible, right? Super safe, man. We're not allowed to do those things, man. We're not allowed to do that. I don't know what you were thinking, but I mean, I imagine that the moment you signed the document to get the Volvo, the black card gone.
Yeah. The last shred of evidence I had was gone. Yeah,
gone. Man, it was the last. You signed that thing, and the last Infinity Stone appeared in Biden's Thanos glove, and he was like, snapped you right out. Snapped you right out the census, man. Changed your census papers and everything, man.
Oh man, that's funny.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But so hey, let's what you got?
I think we got one more thing, because you getting ready to go and do some speaking, right?
Yeah, somewhat. So yeah, you can put it up, but I'm going to old Tampa and Tim's country.
Oh,
going to Minnesota.
Let's take a look. Man, man.
So I'm flying out tomorrow to go to Minneapolis to be a part of this discussion. It's going to be a panel discussion. Can you put the link in the chat?
Sure. Yeah. Happy to do that.
Yeah. So it's going to be live stream, YouTube, Facebook. I think he's going to put the YouTube link in the chat. But yeah, so I got asked to come be a part of this panel discussion. It's the 60th anniversary of the Moynihan Report. The Moynihan Report was a report that came out in 1965 called The Crisis of the Black Family, and it was raising the alarm that the black out of wedlock birth rate was at 25%, and they called it a national crisis. And he called for the nation to step up and intervene to do something about it, because he realized, like, if we don't change, we don't intervene, this doesn't turn around, it's going to be crazy detrimental to the black community. Well, that was 1965. By 1985, it was at 75%. And we've been between 70 and 75% ever since. And so, yeah, it was basically, and that's the thing, I have mixed feelings, because you can recognize a problem, but if you misdiagnose it, your solution to it would be wrong. And so Moynihan, to his credit, saw the problem, but he was a socialist, and he saw it from a material standpoint, because he saw poverty as the issue, right? And his whole thing is, we have to solve poverty. And so the war on poverty was largely one of his kind of brainchilds. And so, yep, now Matt is 75%. Yep. And he wasn't happy with the war on poverty. He felt like they didn't do the things that he was really advocating for. And to check this out, one of the things he was upset about that they did, he felt they were messing up the war on poverty. He said the intellectuals continue to stir up the poor blacks, basically for their own benefit. And that is hindering the change that we need. Yeah. He was a socialist, but he was not a Marxist, right? He was yeah. And so he was upset because he felt like the intellectuals were undermining the efforts by stirring up black people to protest at the local level, which was only hurting black people instead of integrating them into the community and getting local support, right? And so he was against all of that. But he said the intellectuals keep riling up the poor blacks to do this. And he said a lot of stuff. He had a lot of good insight. The issue was he's a socialist, so he saw all the solutions as material. And so a lot of his solutions, I don't think, he believed in, he would have been perfect today. He would have been Andrew Wayne, right? He would have been like, hey, guaranteed jobs, income, we got to solve this poverty thing. And they view poverty as the issue of pathology instead of addressing the pathology. The pathology is there. Throwing money at it doesn't change. The whole, the saying, you can take the person out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the person, right? If you take somebody from the hood and you put them in a high-end neighborhood and give them money, you basically going to have the Beverly Hillbillies, right? You're going to have the Clampetts. They're not going to change their culture or who they are, their habits, the beliefs. None of that's going to change. They just got money now, right? And so you have to go beyond just resources, thinking resources going to change culture and change people. Because this is the thing, nobody would say that about Appalachia, right? No one would say, if we just go and give Joe Blow in the mountains of Appalachia $100,000 tomorrow, that's gonna fix everything about, like, no, he gonna buy a lot of meth, right? Or right. That's not gonna change the culture or the cycle that is there by just handing someone resources of money. And so that was the only thing. But yeah, I'm going to be on this panel to talk about not just what went wrong, how it happened, but we want to talk about solutions, right? How do we turn this around? Because 70 to 75% out of wedlock birth rate, it's unsustainable, right? If we're ever going to address the issues of the black community, you have to address the issues with the black family. And so the politicians won't talk about it because, like I say, the issue goes beyond what a politician can do in terms of addressing the system and resources. The issue it's really hard to change people. It's really hard to change culture and get people to turn and make different decisions. You can give them all the resources and opportunity you want. Oh yeah, speaking of that, Moynihan, he also said something I didn't agree with. He would have been perfect for the day because he said we got to go beyond equal opportunity and all of this stuff. He said we need to start guaranteeing equal outcomes. I was like, wow.
Wow.
He was all on the equity chain.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh. So he was a mixed bag. But at the same time, he did try to raise the alarm when it was at 25%. And he was really ignored. And one of the reasons he was ignored, guess why?
I mean, I'd have to imagine that my answer is feminism was real hot back then.
It was. But why do you think the black community rejected it? Because they rejected the notion of a pathology among poor blacks. So they just ignored his whole premise because it was like, how dare you say there's something wrong with poor blacks? Like, and so they rejected it out of defending black people against white racist beliefs, right? And his whole thing was he wasn't racist at all. He was saying this is what we've done to them. He was saying all the leftist talking points. Slavery and Jim Crow has done this, and we've got to turn this around because we've done this to them. That was his whole point, right? And we've created this pathology among the poor blacks, right? I don't agree with him, but that was his whole thing was. It wasn't saying black people are this way. He was saying this is what we've done to them. And so, but just the idea of talking about the pathology of poor blacks, the black community was like, no. They completely ignored him, shunned him. And he said something that I thought was very important in his analysis. And I know I'm going long on this, but he talked about, because he said about 50% of the blacks have reached middle class, but because of housing segregation, they're forced to live next door to the poor blacks, right? There wasn't a separation. So he was like, even the children of the middle class blacks are at risk of the pathology of the poor blacks.
Wow.
And I know we saw that, right?
Oh,
you've seen middle class kids who get sucked into the streets and the street culture and rap culture, right?
That's
because
right.
they want to is enticing. He was saying that in 1960s, right?
Wow.
And the black community rejected him because they were too prideful to admit that was an issue.
Jason Riley talks about that, and in his book, Please Stop Helping Us, he talks about that, about how, he wound up seeing his sisters who had no reason. His siblings, I should say, one of his sisters being one of them. I think he might have had multiple sisters, but his siblings wound up being affected by that pathology, by that culture, even though they were middle class and there was no reason for them to wind up that way. They did because they wanted to fit in to that black culture, and so he went the other way and he was shunned. And
he's white.
Yeah. Why you act white?
Yeah.
Why do you talk white?
Yes. So when kids or families were able to get out of that environment, right, and they did not have that pathology, those kids were always deemed as being white, acting white, talking white, right? And and it just created this inferiority where all of a sudden you had kids that were from the suburbs, 2-parent homes, all of a sudden acting like they're from the inner city in the streets. It's like, why? Because of that whole reason. If you don't, you ain't black. That was what it meant to be black. Yeah.
That's right.
And so, yeah, man. So he was a mixed bag, but he had some good points and he was completely ignored. And if people had took him seriously, not saying for all his policies, his socialist policies, but at least it would have had the attention of, if the black community would have paid attention to it, the black community could have made strides to change it, not necessarily from the government's perspective, but we ignored it because we were too prideful that some white man was saying this. So,
yeah, that's, and I knew when I had originally seen it, which was, I can't remember the first time I had heard about the Moynihan report, but I knew, I was like, oh man, Oh man, if he was white,
Yeah.
I know it instantly got rejected. Instantly.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to hear that. I mean,
so,
you know, Bill Cosby got in trouble for talking about that stuff. You know, on Oprah, he got in trouble for that.
He spoke to like the National Black Caucus, I think it was.
Yeah, and so I think Oprah questioned him on, you know, on some of that stuff, and it's like, we all know what he was saying was true, but they admitted it's like, well, we just didn't like that you said it in public. We're supposed to keep that. We're supposed to keep that conversation in the family. We don't talk about that in public.
I used to call myself a Bill Cosbyist because of that,
man,
right?
Yeah, that went out of style.
It did. I had to stop saying it. But that's why, you know, our podcast is called Off Code, because that's what it means to be on code. We don't talk about that stuff in mixed company. We talk about it behind closed doors within the family. But when we go outside of that, we stay on code, we stay on message, and we never admit the truth, right? And so we called our podcast Off Code because it's like, we're not going to do that. We're going to have these honest conversations. We're going to be real, right?
Yeah.
But people don't know Bill Cosby went to prison because he spoke out against the black community, right? So he said all of that stuff, right? He was very critical. No, he said we'll spend $200 on some Jordans, but we won't spend $200 on Hooked on Phonics, right? He was going off. Well, black community got mad, and the reason all of this stuff started with him and the women is because some other comedian went on a radio show and was basically like, "Who does Negro think he is?" Yeah. And then he said he out here around here, you know, raping women. That was the first time anybody heard anything like that. And it only came out because he said something against the black community. And they was like, you know what? We got something for you. Right. And they threw it out there on the radio show. And the next thing you know, here comes everything else. But if he had never said that, the black community, it wouldn't have never happened. So,
man,
crazy, you know, the way things happen. But yeah, I used to call myself a Bill Cosby is because he was speaking the truth, but they got mad at him because it's like, we know it's true, but you're not supposed to say it in public, right? And so, yeah, that's what he got in trouble for.
Yeah. Wow, man. I did not.
Yep.
I didn't know that was the catalyst. I mean, clearly he did that stuff, and apparently
that was the catalyst.
The other comedians knew. The other comedians, you know, there were other comedians who knew he was doing that stuff. You know, so it's sad. That was a terrible thing to realize, because, you know, Bill Cosby was a black hero. I mean, you know, when you were growing up as a kid in the 80s, man, you watched the Cosby Show. You know, growing up as a kid in the 80s and the 90s, you watch the Cosby Show and it's like, yo, I'm gonna be like the Huxtables, man.
Yes,
that's
and
the way
I'm
I
be
thought.
honest. I'm gonna be honest. I don't care what he did. The Cosby Show needs to be back on television.
100%. I mean, there's nothing like that now. There's nothing like the Cosby Show now.
No,
there's nothing like it.
Yeah,
everything's too dark, man.
yeah. We got one more thing. It's
man,
really quick.
Okay. Wait a minute.
A new segment.
Oh, yes. Hold on. Let me get this queued up. Intro it for a second while I cue this up.
Yeah, I'm gonna intro it. So I was like, you know what? Because you brought up a book last week, Never Split the Difference. And I have that book on my shelf. And I was like, you know what? We should start doing a book of the week where we highlight a that we've read or heard about. And it was like, hey, y'all, this is the book of the week. You know, go check it out. And so I had to do a Zoom meeting for a homeschool group. It's from the Center for Biblical Unity. We have a homeschool group called Unwoke Homeschoolers, and they asked me to come and do a Zoom call with them on how to teach Black history, right? Because there's so much out there. It's like, what's good, what's not. You know, you have, you know, white families who are homeschooling, who want to teach this history, but kind of walking on eggshells, don't know what to teach, how to teach it. You know, they're kind of nervous. And so I had to do a Zoom call with them to talk about how do you teach Black history. And so I gave them some resources. And so one of the resources is what I want to use as our book of the week, because I read this book years ago and it is excellent. So
awesome.
No future. The new segment is not what we discuss as a hot dog or sandwich.
Oh.
That is not.
Oh man. No, you know what? Man, there's things I could say, but I think that we could talk about whether a hot dog is a sandwich and be funnier than Michelle Obama. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So the name of this book is The Birth of Black America, the fight. The first African Americans in the pursuit of freedom at Jamestown. So I was actually in Jamestown many years ago, saw this book on the shelf. It looked really interesting. So I picked it up. And I'm not the biggest reader in terms of, like, I don't read fiction. So I read history. I read for knowledge, not for pleasure. I was hooked on this book. It was so engaging from a historical perspective. And I'll just set it up like this. The book takes place in 3 settings. You have the Jamestown colony that is struggling. You have the political scene of what's going on in England. And you have this war in the Congo between the Portuguese and the Congo. So that's how the first slaves happen, right? And so once you realize how all of these events were happening at the same time and how like the perfect things had to happen in alignment to where it was a perfect storm. Otherwise, what we know as the United States today probably doesn't exist. If it wasn't for that war in the Congo, the Portuguese finally winning the war, started sending slaves to the quote unquote New World, which was mainly South America and the Caribbean. But one of the slave ships got hijacked, got pirated. And those ships were brought to Jamestown, those slaves. And so in 1619, those first slaves got to Jamestown. That's where the whole 1619 project comes from, right? It was a pirated ship. So England was not in the slave trade. This was the Portuguese doing their thing in South America. And but also pirating was illegal in Britain. And not only was it illegal, but the ship that they pirated belonged to a very, very prominent French politician. And so King James in England was trying to mend relationships with the Catholic nations. So France and Italy. And so he wanted trade relationships. And so it created this whole political crisis where he had to come down hard on the people who hijacked this ship, right? Who pirated this ship and stole these slaves. And when he did, what it did was it broke up the monopoly the Virginia Company had on the right to, I guess you can call settle the East Coast of America. And once their rights were broken up as a company, now other people could come in and start setting up colonies. That was one of the things that was like a big thing to America becoming America, because until then the Virginia Company had the entire thing on lock. And also the colony was failing until the slaves got there, because Native Americans, first of all, these people were stupid. They settled in the New World and they didn't bring any people who like knew how to work. Imagine if everybody's white collar and you show up, it's like, okay, how do we grow food, guys? Right? And so they enslaved Native Americans, but Native Americans were dying from diseases. These 19 African slaves get there and they're not dying from disease. They're not getting the diseases because, just like Europeans, Africans domesticated livestock. And so a lot of those diseases that Native Americans did not domesticate livestock. A lot of those diseases they were dying from, African slaves weren't. All of a sudden this tobacco stuff becomes successful. It's a successful profiting company now. And it was on the verge of failing. If it had failed, you would have never had the big push to the New World, to America, if the Jamestown colony would have failed. And so just the sequence of events that are happening all at the same time, it is just riveting that if it didn't happen exactly this way, America today as we know it doesn't even exist. And so just understanding that was just, it was mind blowing. It was a good book. So
well, man,
that's
you sold me. You sold me. I got to read this thing now.
Hey, it is. And that's what I told the homeschoolers. I say, do not teach Black history, teach American history, right? And if it makes sense to something's in there that involves black people, teach it. Like, talk about Jamestown. I mean, that you could, man, it's so much to talk about just to talk about Jamestown, right? You got to talk about slave trade. Yeah. And so I'm like, don't teach black history, just teach American history, and you'll cover and just cover things where it makes sense to cover things, but don't try to highlight this is black history. No. And so
that's awesome, man. And that's one of the things that I've said for many years. It's like, I am personally against Black History Month because I just think that Black history is American history. Put me in a regular history book. I don't need Black History Month. I don't need a special month. I don't want to be coddled or anything like that. Just take some stuff and put it in the regular history book. And I'm also, the other thing, I don't look at this as, I realize black people in America are a minority. We have, we definitely have points in the story of America that are prominent enough clearly to make the main storyline. But I understand that we are not the main character here. We don't make up the majority of the population, etc. So I don't expect to have black people, have equal representation in the story of America. I don't expect that.
No, you're right. That is so important. And what people mess up with the black aristocracy mess up and the 1619 Project people is they make slavery and black people the root of the story, right? We are the center of the story. And it's like, there's so much going on at that time. Like everything I just explained, the slaves aren't even the center of the story. There's so much going on, right? But when you try to make them the center of the story, it's just your lens of history is completely off. So
and that's I think that's one of the important sort of conclusions. Matt said, "Devin, you can't say that." I know, man. Listen, I'm used to having the noose around my neck, man. I'm used to that junk.
Not your first time.
Not my first time, dude. But the thing that and I will say is it's not quote unquote massa putting the noose around my neck. It's the left, and unfortunately, many times it's been other black folks. Putting the noose around my neck, so I'm used to it. Come at me, but I just realized that you have to have a realistic view of world history, and if you're zooming into American history, you still have to be realistic about just how much are the stories of any given people group going to rise up into the main storyline of the major things happening in the history of the company or of the country. And I realize that there's going to be a few things, but I shouldn't expect to be hearing about black people in American history all the time. Just like I wouldn't expect a white person necessarily to show up in the history of the Congo or et cetera. I wouldn't expect that some white European's going to show up all the time in the history of a country like that. And so it's just I don't have the need for it either. My self-worth is not defined by seeing myself recognized or people, quote unquote, who look like me. Everybody knows I hate that term. I think it's a culturally Marxist term. It is a culturally Marxist term. I don't have to see that in order to think that I can achieve anything or to think that I have worth. And I think that's one of the problems that we've convinced an entire couple generations of people in this country that if you don't see yourself from a skin color perspective, in the annals of history all the time, that means you're being censored, or your history is being suppressed.
Being erased.
Right. It's just, I don't know. If you think about it, like, you can think of any number of people in your life, and when you look at the story of their life, how often do you pop up? I mean,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so
yeah.
I'd like for us to have a realistic view of that, and I think that we would calm down a lot if we would just be honest about it.
Yeah, we will, but people don't want us to calm down. We're useful idiots. All right, but Matt, good point. Manny Johnson, that absolutely great little black and white documentary. Hey man, any final thoughts? I know we ran long tonight, but we had a lot to get into.
There was a lot. Oh snap! We got the elder statesman DWC in the building. Grace and peace. He said he mad at you calling him the elder statesman too. He said he mad at that. He don't like that you called him elder. He don't like that. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool. I thought it was a cool name. I think it's a great distinction.
It's showing reverence.
Reverence, man. Reverence. Take it as reverence, man. Man, my last thought. I would say, y'all, again, just think about these things that we talked about earlier in the show. All these instances of Teslas getting burned, whole charging stations getting burned. We didn't show y'all half. We didn't even show y'all half of what is going on out there. Half of the things getting burned down. These people getting random people getting harassed on the street, getting their cars keyed. I mean, the videos.
Oh, yes, videos of people getting their cars keyed.
Yeah. I mean, just for owning Tesla, that stuff right there. The people getting swatted. We showed you a video of one person. That was one instance of a conservative getting swatted. All I'm saying is, consider if the tables were turned and it was people on the right doing that to people on the left, what would happen? What the narrative would be, the moral outrage, what that would be coming from all of the talking heads. I mean, it would be everywhere. All I'm saying is to folks, consider that and realize just how skewed this whole thing has been.
Yep. And I'll just say, next week we'll say something bad about Trump. So don't worry, we'll balance it out. I'm like, you see his tan this week, man. That was it. His tan was uneven this week.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll find something to say. I mean, if you just want something, we'll find it. Okay.
Yeah, I would say this Ukraine situation. If there's no third ceasefire or peace deal by next week, yeah, I'm gonna have something to say.
Word.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, man. Well, let's sign off. It's been good. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate y'all hanging out in the chat. We thank y'all for y'all's support. Please like the channel, subscribe, share it, tell a friend. Also, check out Devin and Podium Studios for turnkey, full-service podcast and video production. Join us again next week as we tackle the latest in foreign policy and domestic policy. And so, until then, stay informed.
Stay informed, folks. This podcast was filmed at Podium Studios at Marietta Square. Grow your business with turnkey, professional quality podcasting, live streaming, and online events. Don't worry about editing. Don't worry about anything. Just come in and record. Learn more at thepodium.studio. Step up to the podium.